My dear friends, welcome to the channel and Billy Graham's 6th keynote and speech. Have you been praying for something so long that you've started to wonder if God has forgotten you? Let me assure you, God hasn't said no. He's been preparing a better YES. Why they should keep watching. This message will reignite your faith in the waiting season. You'll discover how divine delays are actually divine designs to position you for greater than you imagined. Keynote 2, The Power of the Long Wait. When God says why, yes, suddenly introductory hook. There are moments when God answers a prayer instantly, but there are also times when He waits and then shocks you with a break through you never saw coming. Why they should keep watching. This keynote will walk you through real-life biblical stories where long waits ended in instant miracles. Your yes may be closer than you think. Keynote 3, Faith that endures gets rewarded introductory hook. God doesn't forget faithful hearts. Your obedience in silence, your worship in pain, it's all being stored up for a divine. Why, yes, that's on the way. Why they should keep watching. You'll learn how holding on just a little longer could lead to the very break, through you've been fasting, praying, and crying for. Keynote 4, What looks dead is about to bloom again introductory hook. Sometimes God lets dreams die, only so He can resurrect them in a way that brings Him glory and surprises you. Why they should keep watching. This part will stir the dreamer in you back to life. You'll understand why your no seasons were never permanent. They were soil for your greatest YES. Keynote 5, Heaven hasn't forgotten your file introductory hook. You may think your name is lost in the shuffle of millions of prayers, but God has your request written in His hand. Why they should keep watching. This keynote reveals how divine memory works. How God remembers, restores, and responds at the appointed time. Keynote 6, The sound of sudden breakthrough is coming introductory hook. There's a sound in the spirit realm, it's the sound of your YES approaching like rain on a dry land. Can you hear it? Why they should keep watching. You'll be equipped to recognize the spiritual signs that God is about to move in your life. This is the moment you've been waiting for, and the message will help you not miss it. Updated saved memory. Here is the expanded version of the keynotes for your speech titled, God is about to surprise you with a YES you've waited years for. Below are 200+ words of keynote style expansion, delivering deep inspiration, emotional engagement, and spiritual insight. Full expanded keynote breakdown approx. 200 words 1. God's timing is not denial, it's preparation. You prayed. You fasted, you believed, and still heaven stayed silent. But silence doesn't mean absence. God isn't ignoring you. He's arranging things behind the scenes. When God doesn't respond right away, it's not a rejection. It's refinement. Every not yet from God is a divine investment in your future yes. Just like Joseph waited in a prison cell before ruling Egypt. Just like Sarah waited decades before holding Isaac. You too are being prepared. Heaven's YES isn't always fast, but it's always right. Don't misinterpret delay as denial. The takeaway, God's YES is worth the wait because He's preparing not just the blessing, but also your heart to carry it. 2. The power of the long wait. When God says YES, suddenly God has a pattern. He makes you wait, then He moves suddenly. Think about it. Paul and Silas were in prison all night, but at midnight the earth shook. Peter was locked in chains, but in an instant the angel led him out. You've been waiting for years, But when the YES comes, it'll feel like it happened overnight. Because to God, timing is everything. One YES from God can erase a decade of pain. This keynote reminds you, no time is ever wasted in God's hands. His YES will come suddenly, but right on time. 3. Faith that endures gets rewarded. You can't microwave spiritual maturity. You have to walk through the fire and still trust Him. When your prayers seem unheard and yet you continue to believe, that's the kind of faith God rewards. Hebrews 11 speaks of people who held on without ever seeing the promise in their lifetime, and yet they were called faithful. How much more will God honor your endurance? The message here is simple. If you don't quit, you win. Your YES is being built on the foundation of your perseverance. 4. What looks dead is about to bloom again. You may feel like it's too late. Like the opportunity has passed. The door is closed. But the God who brought Lazarus out of the grave is the same God about to breathe life into your situation. Dry bones can live again. Buried dreams can bloom. God specializes in reviving what looks dead. So if it feels like it's over, get ready. That's when the YES is coming. Don't give up at the grave, because the resurrection is coming. Your YES is not just a blessing, it's a miracle. 5. Heaven hasn't forgotten your file. Sometimes we think God has so many people to listen to. Surely our little prayer gets lost. But you're not a number to God. You're a name, a child, His creation. God doesn't operate on forgetfulness. He operates on fullness. At the right time, when the fullness of preparation meets the fullness of your heart's readiness, He releases what was always yours. Here's the truth. Your YES is not forgotten. It's reserved. 6. The sound of sudden breakthrough is coming. In 1 Kings 18, Elijah said, I hear the sound of an abundance of rain. Before a drop had fallen, that's prophetic expectation. That's faith in motion. There's a sound in your spirit. A stirring, a confirmation. It's the echo of heaven preparing to release your YES. Listen for it. Because when God moves, everything changes in an instant. You're not crazy to hope again. You're not wrong to believe again. The sound you hear is the sound of your YES approaching. 7. God's YES will silence every voice that mocked you. You've been misunderstood, mocked, ignored. People may have even told you, just move on. That door is shut. But when God says YES, every other voice gets silent. God's favor makes room for you, and when He opens the door, no man can shut it. Your testimony will speak louder than any insult you've ever endured. Let this be clear, the YES God gives you will not only bless you, it will vindicate you. 8. Your YES is bigger than you think. You asked for something small, but God has something greater. You were praying for survival. He's preparing you for overflow. Ephesians 3:20 says He does exceedingly abundantly above all we ask or think. Sometimes God delays the YES because He wants to give you more than what you prayed for. Your limited view is about to be blown away by His unlimited grace. Your YES isn't just an answer, it's a destiny shift. 9. There's glory in the waiting room. No one likes the waiting room. But that's where God builds trust. In the waiting, you learn to worship. You learn to surrender. You learn to listen. And when the YES comes, you'll realize you didn't just get what you prayed for. You became who God needed you to be. The waiting wasn't wasted. It was worship in disguise. Every tear, every sleepless night, God saw it. And your YES is about to redeem it all. 10. Get ready, because the door is about to open in Acts 12. Peter knocked on the door, and the people praying for his release didn't even believe it was him. That's how fast God's YES can come. It shocks even the faithful. Get your heart ready, get your spirit ready, because what you've been waiting for is about to walk right up to your door. And this time it won't be delayed. This time it's yes. Break this into YouTube chapters or Reels content. God's timing is not denial, it's preparation. Have you ever prayed with all your heart, expecting a breakthrough, only to be met with silence? Have you fasted, worshipped, believed, and still the answer didn't come? It's in these seasons we're tempted to believe God is saying no. But friend, let me tell you, God's delay is not his denial, it's his preparation. We live in a world of instant gratification. We expect God to respond like a microwave, but he often works more like a slow cooker, developing depth, maturity, and readiness in us before releasing his blessing. God isn't in a rush. He's in the business of building people, not just granting wishes. Look at Joseph. At 17, he had a dream from God, but he didn't step into that dream until he was 30. 13 long years of betrayal, slavery, and imprisonment. To others, it looked like God had said no, but heaven was simply preparing him for the YES that would not only bless Joseph, but save nations. The same is true for you. You think you've been overlooked, but heaven has you marked. You think you've been forgotten, but God has you in focus. You think the dream died, but the delay is just divine alignment. God is building strength in your spirit so that when the YES comes, you're not crushed by the weight of it. Some blessings take time because they're not ordinary. They're generational, and God refuses to give you something prematurely that could destroy you. Think of it this way. If God gave you what you asked for 5 years ago, would you have been ready for it? Spiritually, emotionally, mentally, probably not. But today, after all you've been through, after all you've grown through, after all the refining, the pressing, the pruning, you're not who you were. And that's why the YES is getting closer. Here's the truth. God isn't just preparing the blessing for you. He's been preparing you for the blessing. So don't give up in the waiting room. Don't curse the delay. Don't doubt in the silence, because that YES is still coming. Stronger, better, and more beautiful than anything you imagined. He's the God of perfect timing, not early, not late, but right on time. And when he says YES, nothing and no one can stop it. Stay faithful, keep showing up, keep believing. Your YES isn't lost, it's loading. And when it arrives, you'll understand why it took so long and why it was worth every second. The power of the long wait. When God says YES, suddenly one of the most breathtaking moves of God is when he steps into a situation that's been stuck for years and changes everything in one moment. You've waited, cried, hoped, and almost quit. But then suddenly, the door opens. That's the kind of YES God is about to give you. Have you noticed how God loves to work in patterns that shock our human logic? He made the Israelites wait 430 years in Egypt. Then, in one single night, he delivered them all. He allowed a woman with an issue of blood to suffer for 12 years, then healed her with one touch. He left Lazarus in the grave for 4 days, then raised him from the dead with one command. Here's what that shows us. Long waits often precede sudden breakthroughs. It's in the waiting season that you're tempted to walk away, tempted to lose heart. But God is not bound by time. He governs it, and sometimes the longer the wait, the more significant the YES. Because God is not just lining up the blessing for you. He's lining up the people who need to witness it. Sometimes God holds back your YES so that the right people can be in place, so the right hearts will see it, so the right stage will be set. He's not trying to punish you. He's planning to display His glory through your life in a way that only He can. And when the moment comes, it will be sudden. Suddenly the email arrives, suddenly the door opens, suddenly the diagnosis reverses, suddenly the one yes changes everything. Acts 16 tells us about Paul and Silas singing in prison at midnight. They were beaten, locked in chains, forgotten, but then suddenly, an earthquake, a door flung open, chains fell off, the prison shook. That's how God moves. When it seems darkest, He releases His light. You're closer than you think. You've endured the long wait. You've stayed faithful when others gave up. And because you stayed, you're about to experience a YES that only heaven could orchestrate. But here's the key. You must be positioned for the sudden. You can't get discouraged and walk away when you're one day from your miracle. You can't stop praying just before the answer comes. You can't stop showing up just because it's been slow. God's YES is coming. And when it comes, it'll be undeniable, unstoppable, unexpected, and it'll come with speed. Isaiah 60:22 says, when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen quickly. That's not poetic, it's prophetic. And it's your word, so I encourage you, don't measure God's ability by the length of your delay, because the longer the delay, the louder the YES will echo when it comes. This isn't just about receiving an answer. This is about revealing the power of God in a way that makes your waiting worthwhile. Keep praying, keep expecting, keep preparing, because when God says YES, it will come suddenly, and you'll know it was worth the wait. God is about to surprise you with a YES you've waited years for. Faith that endures gets rewarded, let's be honest. Faith is easy when the answer comes quickly, but the kind of faith that moves heaven is the kind that holds on when nothing seems to be happening. That's called enduring faith, and it's the kind of faith God rewards with a YES that's bigger than the wait. You see, many people pray with passion, but when they don't see results, they begin to pull back. They stop expecting. They lower their hope to avoid disappointment. But God never asked us to have faith for a few weeks or until we get tired. He said, the just shall live by faith. Hebrews 10:38. Enduring faith is the kind of faith that keeps praying after the door stays closed. It's the kind of faith that keeps sowing when there's no harvest in sight. It's the kind of faith that keeps trusting even when the tears don't stop. God watches that kind of faith. He honors it. He stores every prayer, every tear, every act of obedience. And when the time is right, He releases a reward that not only answers your prayer, but proves to you and everyone around you that He saw it all. Hebrews 11 is filled with stories of men and women who waited with enduring faith. Noah built an ark for 120 years without a drop of rain. Abraham waited 25 years to hold his promised son, Isaac. Moses waited 40 years in the desert before his calling truly began. And all of them were rewarded. Why? Because they didn't just believe for a moment. They believed until God moved, until the door opened, until the breakthrough came. Friend, you might feel forgotten. You might feel like your prayer has expired, but if your faith is still alive, even if it's small, even if it's tired, God counts that as righteousness. And let me tell you something powerful. There is no expiration date on a promise from God. If He said it, He meant it. And if He meant it, He'll do it. Galatians 6:9 says, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." Did you catch that? If we do not give up, the harvest is guaranteed, but only to those who endure. So maybe today you're at the edge of discouragement. Maybe you're thinking about letting go of the dream, but this is not the time to quit. This is the time to dig in deeper, because you're not just closer than you think. You're being watched by the God who rewards those who diligently seek Him. And here's the best part. When God finally says, "YES," you won't just rejoice because you received the answer. You'll rejoice because you became stronger in the process. Your testimony won't just be, "I got what I prayed for." Your testimony will be, "I didn't give up, and God came through." So keep believing, keep worshiping, keep standing. The rare moments in life when we look around and see nothing but loss. Lost time, lost relationships, lost opportunities. It feels like the dream is dead, the promise is buried. The season has passed, but here's the truth. God doesn't see dead things the way we do. We see a grave. He sees a garden. We see an ending. He sees a resurrection. We see loss. He sees the setup for something new. Let me remind you of something powerful. Your God is the God of comebacks. In John 11, when Jesus arrived at Lazarus' tomb, everyone thought it was too late. Martha said, "If you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died." But Jesus said, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" Everyone around her saw a final chapter. Jesus saw a fresh beginning. What in your life looks dead right now? A dream you once carried, a calling you used to burn with passion for, a prayer you stopped praying because it hurt too much to hope. God is saying to you right now, it's not over. I'm not done. There are some blessings that take longer because they are being resurrected, not created. What does that mean? It means God is breathing new life into something you gave up on. And when it comes back, it won't come back the same. It'll come back better, stronger, and more fruitful than before. In Joel 2:25, God promises, "I will restore the years the locusts have eaten." He doesn't just restore moments. He restores years. That means the time you thought was wasted, the years that were filled with pain, the doors that were slammed shut. God is about to redeem it all. But catch this, before He brings the YES, God will often allow the old thing to die, not to punish you, but to prepare you for something greater. Jesus had to die before resurrection could happen. The seed must fall to the ground before it grows. And often your dreams must go through a death so they can come back with God's fingerprints all over them. You thought it was the end, but it was really the beginning of a miracle. And here's the best part. When God resurrects something, it always comes back with power. Lazarus didn't just walk out of the grave. His story became a witness. Your comeback won't be quiet. Your YES will be loud, public, purposeful, and undeniable. So if something looks finished in your life right now, don't panic. Don't lose faith. Don't shut the door, because what looks dead is about to bloom again, and when it does, you'll say, "Only God could have done this." Stand in hope. Water that dream with prayer. Make room for resurrection. Because your YES is not just a second chance. It's a supernatural comeback. Would you like me to now expand Keynote 5 or start building this into a full speech lay out with intro, sermon flow, and closing? Have you ever felt like your prayer got lost in the shuffle? Like maybe it was too small or too late, or maybe God just moved on to someone else? Let me encourage you with this truth. God doesn't forget. He's not overwhelmed, he's not distracted, and he's never missed one word you've prayed. We tend to think of God like an overworked official with millions of files piling up on his desk. But he's not like man. He doesn't misplace anything. If you brought it to God, it's still on his desk. Psalm 56:8 says, "You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book." Think about that. Every tear you've cried in secret has been documented in heaven. Every time you prayed and saw nothing move, God took note. Every act of obedience, every moment of surrender, every whisper of hope. He saw it all. Heaven is not a system of forgetfulness. It's a place of perfect record. And here's the good news. God doesn't just remember your request. He remembers your faith. Faith pleases him. And when you pray in faith and trust him even when the answer tarries, that kind of faith gets stored, not ignored. You may feel like you're at the back of the line, but God doesn't work by human order. He doesn't bless based on popularity or timing. He blesses based on purpose, and when the time is right, when his purpose aligns with your readiness, he moves swiftly. Isaiah 49:15-16 says, "Can a mother forget her nursing child? Though she may forget, I will not forget you. See, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands." Let that sink in. You are engraved on God's hands. Not penciled in, not temporarily tagged. Engraved. That means your name, your story, your pain, and your prayers are permanently before him. So if it's been months or years or decades since you first asked God for that YES, don't lose heart. Because your file has not been closed. Your name has not been crossed out. Your destiny has not been dismissed. In fact, sometimes the longer the wait, the more detailed the blessing becomes. God has been custom, building something that will not only answer your prayer, but exceed it. You thought it was a simple yes. But God's about to give you a YES that honors your patience, rewards your obedience, heals your heart, and testifies to his glory. And when it happens, you'll look back and say, "I'm glad he didn't forget. I'm glad he waited. I'm glad he made it better than I ever imagined." Keep believing. Keep showing up in prayer. Keep expecting, even in the silence, because heaven hasn't lost your file. It's next in line for a YES that will surprise you, overwhelm you, and remind you. God never forgets his children. Would you like to move forward with Keynote 6? Or would you prefer me to build this into a full-length sermon in Billy Graham's style? I can also add your SEO elements like descriptions, timestamps, and keywords when you're ready. The sound of sudden breakthrough is coming. There are moments in the spiritual realm when something begins to shift. Before it ever becomes visible in the natural, it's not something you can see yet. It's not in your bank account. It's not in your email, but you can feel it in your spirit. You can hear the sound of a YES approaching. In 1 Kings 18:41, the prophet Elijah said something strange. There is the sound of a heavy rain. But here's what's remarkable. There wasn't a single cloud in the sky. While others saw drought, Elijah heard breakthrough. That's what faith does. It hears what's coming before it shows up. It senses what God is doing before the earth responds. And today, if you listen closely, not with your ears, but with your heart, you'll hear it too. That whisper in your spirit, that stirring in your heart, that rising expectancy that just won't die, that's the sound of breakthrough. That's the sound of YES. Elijah's servant didn't see anything at first. He checked the skies 7 times before he saw a cloud the size of a man's hand. But that little cloud was all Elijah needed to know. God was about to release what had been withheld for years. You may not see anything yet. The skies over your life might still look dry. Your situation might still seem stuck. But that little shift in your spirit, that tiny hope that keeps rising up again and again, that's the cloud, that's the signal. That's the beginning of your YES. God always announces big breakthroughs with small signs. A word from Scripture that suddenly feels alive. A door that begins to creak open. A conversation that confirms what you've been praying for. Don't ignore it. It's the sound of God getting ready to move. And when He moves, it will be sudden. It will happen faster than you expected. Supernatural. It will be something no man could take credit for. Strategic. It will be at the exact right time to make the greatest impact. That's what makes this YES different. You've waited years, but when it happens, it will come with such speed and clarity, you'll know only heaven could have done it. But here's the challenge. You must be listening. You must stay sensitive, because if you're not careful, you'll dismiss what God is trying to do because it's still small. Don't miss the cloud. Don't ignore the sound. Let your faith rise again. Begin to praise before the rain comes. Begin to thank God before the blessing drops, because the sound of your sudden breakthrough is already in the air. Don't walk away now. Don't let fear silence your praise. Don't let delay cancel your expectation.